Greetings humans, and welcome back to my Kaotic Devlog. Today we have some really good news. We have compute shaders. So before I explain why this is relevant, I'm going to explain what compute shaders are and what they do. So compute shaders are a method of this thing called general purpose GPU programming, which is basically where you can just do what you can do on the CPU but on the GPU. Now in my case, it's for rendering, so of course the GPU would do this task better. What I do is, instead of taking fragments from a triangle, I just feed in the uniforms directly to the shader and it just takes those as input, basically. And then some work groups to determine how many threads to assign to each pixel and all that. And then it'll split the tasks between a certain number of threads. So anyway, that was the technical stuff behind compute shaders, but why did I choose to use them? The thing with the normal render pipeline is that once I've drawn the image, it's saved to a frame buffer texture, which takes a whole lot of work to access and read from and stuff. So instead, I've chosen to use compute shaders, which will write to the same texture. So if I want to use one texture and have multiple compute shaders write to it, I can. That makes it a lot easier to do stuff like post-processing, multi-pass rendering, all sorts of cool special effects. So, going forward, I have started messing with some ray tracing stuff, mostly just the ray casting function where I cast the ray to the object. The reason I've decided to dabble in ray tracing is because it's easier to optimize. I can just send it through a BVH or Octree or something. There's also less artifacts to it. Because I've noticed with ray marching, there's weird curve things next to the SDFs caused by the number of marches. So the less marches there are, the more curvy and blobby everything is. And that causes some weird, ugly looking artifacts in the background that just aren't pleasant. So on top of that, I'm gonna get onto multi-pass rendering. That will allow me to do stuff like anti-aliasing a lot easier, or smoothing out the normals. So the normals right now are flat for the boxes, but I heard a method from Tuxedo Labs that allows for post-processing effect to happen on the normal buffer, which would allow me to smooth out the normals on sharp surfaces. And another perk of multi-pass rendering would be deferred rendering, which is where I render parts of the scene piece by piece, like one light at a time, for example. And that type of rendering is a staple in AAA games a lot of the time. And it's there for performance reasons, mostly. As well as allowing some workflow upgrades, I guess. Anyway, after I get all that set up, I intend to move on to the editor, finally. Well, first the technical stuff behind the editor, and then the editor. Mostly, when I'm talking about the stuff behind the editor, I mean the encoding for all the objects and all their positions and textures and shaders and what SDF they are and all that, and then storing that in a file somewhere in some form in some way. And this is going to be that point in time where an artist would be really helpful. So if any of you is an artist looking into this whole engine thing, or knows an artist who might be interested in this Kaotic engine, I'd be really thankful if you were to help me out there, because I don't know what I'm doing in terms of design. I don't have the skills to make the art that will really sell Kaotic, and I really do need help. I am totally stuck here on that front. And finally, there is a big red box on your bottom right below the video. I would be very appreciative if you were to hit that big subscribe button I also have a Discord server in the description. I would be very appreciative if you were to join that, and you might be too, because there's updates and a Trello and all sorts of interesting stuff there. And yeah, that's all I got for you today. Peace out.